Imagine a contract so tight it functions like a steel cage, holding one of the NRL's most explosive talents in a state of absolute professional paralysis. Right now, Zac Lomax is a man without a country, a representative superstar whose $2.1 million gamble on a rebel rugby union league has blown up in his face, leaving him stranded in a legal wasteland. But just as the walls seem to be closing in, a bombshell whisper from veteran insider Buzz Rothfield has sent shockwaves from AAMI Park to CommBank Stadium, suggesting a trade so audacious it could redefine the 2026 season before a single ball is kicked. The name being floated to break the deadlock isn't just a bench warmer, it's Jack Howarth, the Melbourne Storm's prized $2 million prodigy, a human wrecking ball who has been nurtured under Craig Bellamy's watchful eye specifically to become the next dominant force in the back row. This isn't just a player swap, it's a high-stakes ransom negotiation where the Eels hold the keys to Lomax's freedom and are demanding a king's ransom in the form of Melbourne's most valuable long-term asset to even consider opening the gate. All sports updates. The tension in this standoff has reached a fever pitch because the Parramatta Eels have absolutely no incentive to be nice to a player who walked out on a massive 4-year deal only to find himself begging for a way back into the NRL through a rival powerhouse. When Lomax secured his conditional release last year, the Eels inserted a poison pill clause that effectively banned him from signing with any other NRL club until 2028, a move designed to protect their investment and ensure they weren't just gift-wrapping a test-quality winger for a competitor. Now that the R360 rugby competition has been delayed until 2028, Lomax is effectively a prisoner of his own release terms, hiring the same high-profile lawyer who represented Israel Folau just to fight for the right to earn a living in the league he once dominated. Parramatta's stance is cold, calculated, and entirely legal. If the Melbourne Storm want the spark that Lomax provides, they have to bleed, and Buzz Rothfield's report suggests that bleeding starts and ends with the departure of Jack Howarth. Jack Howarth is not a name the Storm would ever give up lightly, which is exactly why his inclusion in these trade rumours is so significant and, frankly, terrifying for the Melbourne faithful. Standing at 193 centimetres and weighing over 100 kilograms, Howarth is a physical specimen who has been the subject of massive hype since he was a teenager, eventually signing a monster 5-year deal that signalled he was the future of the Storm's defensive edge. While injuries have occasionally stuttered his momentum, his performances in the 2024 and 2025 grand finals proved that he belongs on the big stage, possessing the rare combination of raw power and the tactical discipline that only a Bellamy coach player truly masters. For Parramatta coach Jason Ryles, who spent years in the Melbourne system and knows exactly what Howarth is capable of, the chance to snatch a ready-made superstar who can anchor the Eels' edge for the next decade is the only thing that could possibly justify letting Lomax walk into the arms of a rival. The legal battle brewing in the background adds a layer of toxicity to this trade saga that we rarely see in the NRL, as Lomax's camp prepares to argue that the fundamental basis of his release has been rendered void by the collapse of the R360 competition. By engaging Ramy Qutami, Lomax is signalling that he is prepared to take this all the way to the courts if the Eels continue to block his path to Melbourne, creating a public relations nightmare for a Parramatta club that is trying to rebuild under a new coaching staff. However, the Eels management knows they hold the ultimate leverage. A contract is a contract, and unless the Storm provide a like-for-like value replacement, they are perfectly content to let Lomax sit on the sidelines or play in a secondary rugby competition overseas. This creates a fascinating psychological game where the Storm must decide if the immediate impact of Lomax's try-scoring brilliance is worth sacrificing the potential 15-year career of a homegrown powerhouse like Howarth. All sports updates. From a tactical perspective, the swap makes a frightening amount of sense for both clubs, even if the fans find the idea of losing their respective stars hard to swallow. The Eels are desperate for an edge forward with the size and athleticism of Howarth to complement their aging pack, and his existing relationship with Jason Ryles means he would hit the ground running without the usual teething problems of a mid-season recruit. Meanwhile, the Storm have recently lost a staggering amount of experience and strike power with the departures of Ryan Papenhuisen and Nelson Asofa-Solomona, leaving a gaping hole in their outside backs that only a player of Lomax's representative caliber can truly fill. Craig Bellamy has built a career out of taking elite talents who are unhappy elsewhere and turning them into disciplined premiership winners, and the prospect of Lomax playing outside a halfback like Jerome Hughes is enough to give opposition defensive coaches nightmares for months. The financial ramifications of this trade are equally staggering, with Lomax having already forfeited an estimated $2.1 million by walking away from his Eels and Dragons contracts in pursuit of a rugby union payday that never materialized. If he moves to Melbourne, he'll likely be taking a significantly lower salary than his original $800,000 a season value, as the Storm's cap, while flexible due to recent departures, still has to accommodate a roster that is perpetually in the hunt for a title. Jack Howarth, on the other hand, is currently on a deal that reflects his potential as a future superstar, meaning the Eels would be taking on a significant salary cap commitment that would anchor their recruitment strategy for years to come. This isn't just a swap of jerseys, it's a massive financial realignment for two of the league's most influential clubs, and the ripple effects will be felt across the entire player market as other clubs scramble to react to this sudden shift in the balance of power. What makes this rumor particularly bombshell is the timing, coming just as the 2026 preseason reaches its most intense phase and teams are beginning to lock in their round 1 combinations. If this trade is finalized, the first game of the season could feature the surreal sight of Zac Lomax lining up for the Storm against the very Eels teammates who, just weeks prior, were holding his career hostage in a boardroom. The atmosphere in that opening round would be electric, a narrative-driven collision where every touch of the ball by Lomax or Howarth would be scrutinized by a national audience hungry for drama. Rothfield's mail is rarely wrong when it comes to the big fish movements in the NRL, and the fact that he has specifically named Howarth suggests that the conversations between the Storm and Eels have moved far beyond mere inquiries and into the territory of serious, high-level negotiation. As the news continues to develop, the pressure is mounting on Melbourne's recruitment team to explain to their members why they would even consider parting with a gene-rational talent like Howarth for a player who has already shown a willingness to walk away from 2 different clubs in 3 years. There is a segment of the Storm faithful who view Howarth as untouchable, the blue-chip prospect who was supposed to lead the post-Bellamy era, and seeing him in an Eels jersey would be a bitter pill to swallow regardless of how many tries Lomax scores. Conversely, Eels fans are torn between the desire to punish a player they feel betrayed them and the pragmatic reality that Howarth is exactly the kind of signing that could fast-track their return to the top 4. The drama is no longer just about where Zac Lomax will play, it's about whether the Melbourne Storm are willing to mortgage their long-term future to win a premiership in the here and now. All sports updates. Ultimately, this standoff serves as a stark reminder that in the modern NRL, loyalty is often secondary to leverage and the cold, hard reality of the salary cap. Zac Lomax's career is currently a cautionary tale of what happens when a player's ambition outstrips the fine print of their contract. But if Buzz Rothfield's prediction comes true, he might just find himself in the perfect environment to rebuild his reputation. Whether Jack Howarth becomes the sacrificial lamb in this trade remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, the relationship between the Eels and the Storm has never been more strained, and the outcome of this power struggle will define the trajectory of both clubs for the next 5 years. Stay tuned to the channel as we track every phone call, legal filing, and training ground whisper in what is shaping up to be the biggest trade story in the history of the professional era. Would you like me to create a breakdown of the salary cap implications for both the Storm and the Eels if this trade goes through?